Good afternoon. Welcome to Talent is Not Enough. It's another day, it's a Friday. Thank God it's Friday. And I want to welcome all our participants over time. Today is the 11th edition of Talent is Not Enough. And I can see the early comers. Ije, Eddie, Richard, hi. Greetings to you. Welcome to Talent is Not Enough. And I want to use this medium once again to appreciate those who have been with us since we started about a month ago. Today we'll be having an interesting session with one of the finest visual artists in this space, Ibe Ananaba, who will be joining us shortly. Last Monday we had a doctor turned actress, Kiki Omeli, and he left us with something that is still ringing in my mind till now. He said, the ultimate trainer is practice. I wrote it down, but it's been, the ultimate trainer is practice. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Our guest is here, and I'm about to bring up here a lonely IBE. I for intelligence, B for the best, and E for excellence. Bros.
I hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello, bros.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, fantastic.
Can you?
I can hear you now. I can hear you. It was breaking earlier. Perhaps it's network, but I'm sure I can hear you loud and clear now.
Yeah.
How far now, bros?
Adele, what's up?
I can hear you. I can.
I can hear you.
Yeah. Afternoon, bros. How you
Good
doing?
afternoon. Adele, good afternoon, viewers. Welcome.
All right. We want to welcome everyone. And officially, I want to welcome our guest today, IBE, E for Excellence, Ibe Ananaba. Correct. Glad to have you join us. We started this some weeks ago, and it's been fantastic.
Okay.
And today we want to drink from your wealth of experience as a visual artist. Because some of our listeners, some are visual artists, theater artists, music students, and practitioners, the creatives, so to speak. But what we share here is principle. And one good thing about principle is that if you apply it anywhere, it gives same result. You know. So
Sure.
there are a few questions I'm going to be asking.
Okay.
Yeah. The network is breaking. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Up.
I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, it was breaking up earlier.
Oh, yeah, but you are clear now. Good. All right. Ibe is a visual artist and one of the finest around here. I'm not massaging your ego. You also know, like the back of your hand, that you have done well for yourself. Now, let's take it back to the foundation. What
Okay.
inspired you in this direction to become a visual artist?
Okay. I would say is I would say it's nature, first of all. Okay, let me backtrack to let me backtrack to my growing up years. So I grew up, having an elder brother who used to recreate comic characters. You know, this is way back when I was like 3, 4 years old.
Okay.
So he opened my eyes to what I would say is creativity. Is growing up, I watched him draw Spider-Man, name all the comic characters, and I was I was following his footsteps. You understand, so to speak. So he will draw, create his own comic characters, and I would follow suit. So along the line, the frustration of not being able to get the lines, to draw exactly like he used to do, you know. At a point, I felt frustrated, but as luck would have it, I became aware that, look, I have to find my own voice. So that's the summary of how I got in here. And ever since, it has been an amazing adventure. Like I never for once had, when you were small, the usual dream of, okay, I want to be a doctor, I want to be this, I want to be that. For me, right from that moment, it has always been to become an artist.
Oh, I see. No wonder. No wonder you you have given everything. Now, let's take it from there. You do a lot of drawings, sketches and all of that. What exactly are you aiming at? What does this incessant practice, what value is it adding to you as a master in code?
Okay.
Draftsmanship, yeah.
I don't know about the master, but for me, drawing, drawing started as a hobby.
Okay.
But over time, I think it's more of a calling now than a hobby. Number one, I draw for therapeutic purposes. It helps me think. It helps me broaden my perspective. It helps me imagine. It helps me look. It helps me to see, to observe. So it again, growing up, drawing helped to take me off the streets. So for me, it's largely therapeutic. I tend to draw. I tend to want to draw the way I need air. Let me just put it that way, because it helps me to. Yeah, I mean, this is creativity. You have the creative license to bend lines, to think this way, to imagine this and that. So drawing is that immediate response to visualize that thing that is in here.
I can't hear you. I think I've lost your volume. I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. Something went wrong with the volume. Is it from your hand?
No. Can you hear me?
I can only read your lips. I can't hear you.
Wow.
Are the listeners, can you hear both of us? I can't hear him and I need to hear him.
Can you hear me?
Network issues? I can't still hear you.
I can hear you.
And you can hear me? Well, that's strange.
Yeah.
What's going on here? Hello?
Hello, I can hear you.
You can hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
But I can't hear you. And our listeners said they can hear both of us. But I need to hear you.
Wow. Okay, Alade says he can hear both of us.
And my volume is still there.
My volume is on the highest now.
I can't hear him.
Whose village person came on board?
Okay, let me see if I can use an earpiece. I hope it's not my ear. Okay, let me see if I can use an earpiece and see if it will solve this. 1 minute, please. Hello?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. So what was the last thing you heard?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
What was the last thing you heard?
Okay. You were talking about drawing. You said it was more of a calling for you.
Oh yes, I was saying that you know, I started out engaging myself with drawings as a hobby, but over the years, you know, over the time, you know, I realized this is beyond hobby, man. It's more like a calling as an artist. I mean, drawing is the foundation of all my creations. You understand? Like I mentioned earlier, it helps me to think. It helps me to imagine. It helps me to express myself. It's that direct medium through which whatever thing I have in here, I can put it out there to see how it turns out, you know. So then I mentioned how, as an exercise, it helped growing up, how it helped take me off the streets, you know. And largely, I do that. I engage more in drawings for therapeutic reasons because of I enjoy. For me, it's more the process than the end thing, you know. So that's the joy of dropping a line and see how the next line crosses it and see the feel, the texture, the experience I get in doing that, the visual appeal and all that, you know, it adds to this. You know, for example, you want to do this and you drop a stroke, will just change the narrative. And again, it's just like you are going to, let's say from Ikeja, you are going to Dweleba, you get to where now? You get to Antonia and something happens. You find yourself at, you know, taking that Ilupeju route, and you know you find yourself elsewhere, and you know the thing is you have to keep moving, you know.
Great. All right. You know, I engaged an artist recently, and you know, on our platform there was a discourse on artificial intelligence, robotics, and all of that, and we said, oh, very soon the computer will take over artistry, that you may not need, that is expecting a 3D computer, that a figure will just sit down, it will project his 3D computer, will take it and reproduce a sculptural piece. In this 5G and all of that, as not, you know, and you see, the argument was that, oh, the computer is here, then all of these manual sketches like you do very soon may be out of place, may become obsolete. Do you see that coming?
It's quite funny. I mean, well, it's a genuine concern for the person, for anyone. My response would be the traditional way of creating can never die. It can never die.
Say that again, if you don't mind.
The traditional way of creating can never die. You know, the reason I say this is because what do you call it? Artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah.
Machine helping in creating things and all that. Okay. Let's hear this analogy out. I sit you as my model or I get some idea and I'm drawing something. Whatever thing that's it's called artificial intelligence, robot or whatever computer doing, reproducing that thing. It has been already programmed to reproduce exactly that. Whereas the traditional way I would use to do what I'm doing, I mean, computer or whatever machine doesn't have soul. I have soul. I have feelings. I have emotions. Do you understand? When I'm doing those things, I'm pouring all of that into what I'm creating. Computer can never do that. Unless they create a computer that can do that, then for me, the argument doesn't hold water because, like I said before, okay, like I usually say, I'm drawing something and I make a mistake. It is natural to make a mistake. I don't know if that in the course of the artificial intelligence thing, if you make a mistake, if the computer can, take another turn or decide on its own to do whatever thing.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I know that if I'm drawing, let's say, for instance, the way I'm looking at you here, I'm making mental notes. If I'm drawing and I make a mistake, I can decide to continue to draw. I can flip my page. I can twist whatever thing I'm doing to take another route. So I don't know if that can happen and how it can happen with the artificial intelligence thing. One thing I believe is, look, the traditional way we used to create things is here to stay and is not going anywhere. Again, it helps you stretch your mind. It helps you stretch, your creative abilities. And for me, that is the height of it.
Great. Okay. All right. Let's look at mentorship now when it comes to
let's look at what?
Mentorship.
Oh, mentorship,
okay. Yeah, as regard the visual art practice. From our discourse here, I can assume that your uncle you referenced perhaps was your
my
first
elder
mentor.
brother, my immediate elder brother.
Yeah, okay, your immediate elder brother. Now, you as an artist, do you think mentorship is an advantage for visual art practice? And if your answer is yes, do you have mentors you can in the visual art space?
My answer is without you even finishing your question, my answer is infinite yeses.
Okay.
And talking about my personal mentors, I honestly have lost count. Many of them, they don't even know that's that they are my mentors one way or the other. And it cuts across age, it cuts across, it's not necessarily the elderly guy. I tend to I like to remain open. If I like what you're doing, I see I can learn one or two things there. I'm in. I learn from you. Thankfully, there's social media. You can go to someone's page and follow the person and, have chats and all that. So, yeah, I have mentors. And to start naming them, honestly, I don't know. I can't exhaust the names.
Wow, great.
But it's vital, right. Yes. It's for a creative person, yes, it's very vital. It's very important to have mentor.
Okay, let's talk about inspiration now. Apart from God, where do you draw, or how do you draw inspiration to get into a work? Let me give you a background. Growing up as an artist, somehow there's this belief that as an artist you must be high, H-I-G-H, and that I is relative. You must be at the level to get the work done. And some people believe it's okay to drink. Now, what I mean drink, now I'm not talking about water. You know, oh,
So
it's okay.
something thicker.
Something thicker. So you are, and we had,
Which is good, by the way.
okay. Uh, well, you are taking something in a red cup. So,
Now what I drink.
so what what inspires? For example, now, if you had done something today, maybe a drawing or a painting, what inspired whatever you have done today? Or generally, how do you get inspiration for every thematic possibility you have had? What informs what inspires what you draw or what you paint?
Okay. You know, an array of things. Like I said, first of all, I'm a human being. I'm a creative being. I'm like a sponge. In every environment I find myself, I like to be open. I like to soak in things. I like to soak in the good, the bad, the ugly, soak in information, then sieve them to know which one applies to whatever thing I want to express. It could be music, it could be joke, it could be how light is bouncing on some other guy. You understand? I mean, I'm open. First thing for me is my philosophy is that, look, ideas would rule. People don't rule this world, it's ideas. You understand? So from how I observe something or how something hits me, it could lead me to past experiences or it could point me to future or somewhere else. So I tend to respond to that. You know. So for me, I'm open.
Okay.
There's no there's no there's no two wraps of Igbo or one special drink or one this or that.
Okay, great. The next question I'm going to ask you is a question my student asked me. And I gave him an answer, but from his response, it's obvious the answer I gave him perhaps was not satisfactory. You know. Now, as a young artist in the marketplace, in contemporary times, that how do you position yourself for patronage? As a young artist in the marketplace, in contemporary times, how do you position yourself for patronage? In a nutshell, how do I sell my work?
You see this you see this selling work matter. Okay. Before answering that, I would like to state one thing that I so much believe in there. It's good to sell work, it's good to sell, make big figures. But then you have to do the work first.
Do the work
You have to humble yourself. Yes, you have to do the work first. And I don't believe it is right for one to just say, okay, I want to become an artist so that I can be selling big figures. I once was watching one documentary. It was actually Bob Marley's song, one of the songs. There's something he said that actually hit me here. He said, look, target the heart and not the head. You understand? If you set out, say, okay, man, I want to paint a 5x7 or I want to paint 2x4, I want to paint whatever so that Mr. B can buy it. The thing is, do the work first. Do you understand? Good things, good work attracts, first of all, good work is creating value. When you want to do good work, you've created a value. Once there's a value out there, one way or the other, is natural. It will attract the people, the real people that will value what you've created. So my answer would be create the work first. Sincerely, create the work. Let the work, let the work reflect you, so to speak. You are the creator. Just create the work first, and then again, I'll have to talk about patience here. You understand? We are in times where people, just want to hammer overnight.
Yeah.
I finished school now. In fact, I haven't even finished school. I haven't even entered or whatever thing, but I just want to make the big figures. There's actually a process. People tend to want to exclude that or not regard that. One has to humble him or herself to know that, look, there's a process. You have to build yourself first. You have to do the trials and errors. That's actually what makes life very sweet. You understand? Because people, like a collector will not just come, Bolaji, man, let this, okay, how much, this. Collector, before collector calls Bolaji to say, okay, I want to buy this, he must have followed you. There must have been a track record. There must have been some story that would inform how he, sorry?
The backstory.
Yeah, there must have been some sort of story that will inform how he values Bolaji and what Bolaji creates, how Bolaji thinks, how Bolaji responds to things, how Bolaji pastes those colors. You understand? How Bolaji maybe is the chiaroscuro or the impasto, or how you use yellow or white or blah, blah, blah. All of those.
Yeah.
So one has to do the work first. You understand? One has to have some patience, make some research to know, okay, I want to sell this so thing. You need to know, one has to know, you have to know your audience. Do you understand? It's not every collector that collects every kind of works. Do you understand?
Please say that again.
I said it is not all collectors, as in one collector does not collect all kind of works.
Yeah, I heard you. I want to be, yeah.
You understand? There are some people that what they like, what rocks their boat, it would be pencil drawings or oil. In fact, not even oil, as in oil on linen, not even oil on canvas, oil on, there are some people like that. There are some finicky collectors that want to do, that would say, look, this is the exact thing I like, at least for a period of time, or I've been doing this. So, so you have to map that out. You have to know what, you have to have content. You have to have content. Art is beyond that. Like when we were in school those days, you think you do landscape and do paint sky, reflect the water and or reflect the sky and on the water, and throw there and game. No, it's beyond that. You have to be saying something. You have to, how do I put it now? You have to, your personality has to reflect there. Do you understand?
Yeah.
This plus many more would, determine would help in how you market your stuff. Again, how you network, how you strategize. You have to have some sort of structure and all that.
Yeah, okay, good. Talking about networking, you see, as humans in every environment, there are two currencies that we spend. And number one is performance currency. And number two is the relationship currency. And as an artist, you must synergize both to advance your practice. Now, for you, because of those that are listening, what do you advise for up and coming artists in their bid to attract buyers, especially taking cognizance of the social media platform? How do you think they can project their skill for recognition and patronage, as the case may be?
Okay. I will start with being sincerity.
Okay.
Sincerity, being, because again, you call it social media.
Yeah.
If you notice, people tend to throw. If you scroll, if you browse around, if you visit 2,000 pages today, you will see more than 2,000 glorious tales, intended glorious tales.
Sure.
People hardly put up their bad sides. Do you understand? So there's lots of hype, too much
Sure.
hype out there. So first of all, one has to be sincere. Sincerity to say, look, this is who I am. Then humility. Humility. You mentioned performance and relationship, and all that. One has to be humble. Do you understand? To say, okay, this is how I feel. This is how I see. This is my perspective to life. And um, an easy illustration I usually give is a two-face. Two-face Idibia. I'm a fan.
Oh.
I mean, look at him. Look at you can't as in look at the humility and look at the creative prowess. Do you understand? So for you to put your stuff out there, you have to first of all be humble. Hone your craft. Sincerely, because lots of hype out there. Will you fail at some point? Yes, you will fail. It's part of life. It's part of the process. Failure actually will point you, if you are discerning, if you are wise enough, failure will point you to the right direction, because you'll be like, let me add some pidgin here. You go enter
No,
kitchen,
it's
go
okay.
put
No. It's carry
the
on.
fire, mistakenly or intentionally.
No.
You
It's fine.
would trace your step to know how you got your finger burnt and learn from it and see how you can turn things over its head to get by. You understand? So, yeah, fail. Learn from it. Make mistakes. There's nothing like overnight success. People like to see. People like to and people entertain that spotlight moment. Do you understand? Let's say Bolaji, for instance. Nobody wants to know when when you were squatting with some other guy somewhere, when you didn't even have accommodation, you didn't even have a studio. Do you understand?
And that's
Nobody
correct.
wants to know.
Yeah.
You have to be sincere to yourself. I can't. I mean, till tomorrow, I will keep hammering on that sincerity thing, because the social media, it can be misleading based on the tons of what you see out there. And I mean, go carry last kind of thing. So yeah, do all that. Again, you have to put in time to studies. You understand? Go out there, look at what people are doing, regardless of age. If you see a younger artist creating some fantastic work, let the person know that he's doing something fantastic. Swallow the pride. You can learn one or two things from there. Do you understand? Again, we are creative beings. A couple of people would say, okay, no, I don't want to show how my process, I don't want this guy to, I don't want to let this guy know that I got this thing from him. I'm like, what the heck is that? For me, we are like, every creative being is like a vessel. We don't own these ideas. We are just like a channel through which God puts the idea, and we just, put it out there for people to consume. Do you understand? For the effect it will have on people's life, to either challenge their thoughts or re-engineer how they think or something. Do you understand? So people should invest time to go out there, make researches, and study, try a couple of things out there, experiment as again, experiment, you know. Because on the other end, a buyer is not just buying physical products. A collector is not just buying paint on canvas. Do you understand? The buyer is buying your experience, he's buying your story, he's buying your essence. Do you understand? A buyer is buying in fact, a buyer is buying history, your history. Because over the time, experience, whatever you create is based on experience now. It's based on some experience. There are some paintings I do, and if I trace back, I will remember what might have inspired this work is perhaps when I took night bus from Aba to Lagos. Some other thing that happened around Benin or Umunede, or one thing, some experience that has been here. I have so many funny experiences through which, from there, I create series of works, So, yeah, one has to be sincere enough to, do all of, humble yourself and do all of those things.
Great.
It's for your good.
All right. In the course of your career, have you ever suffered rejection? Have you ever tried to sell a work and the deal didn't go through, it didn't happen? And if that happened,
till tomorrow.
You, my friend, you, bros.
But we are human till tomorrow, yes.
So
rejection is part of life now.
Okay. So how can a young up and coming, for the essence of this is for those that are just growing. And at times when they put up their work for a show and the work didn't fly, they kind of like, oh, maybe this is not my calling. Or maybe, and that at times, I'm asking this question because some often ask me that, how do I find my style? How do I situate my practice in a context? So if you do realism today and you put it up there, it didn't sell, and you saw that in that same show, they bought abstraction. Then you go into abstract, or you just keep jumping. Now, two questions in one. How do you handle rejection, and how do you find your feet in this in your individual art space? How do you know this is for? I want you to answer from your own angle. I know your style, and I follow your work.
Do I have a style?
If your work is not signed, now this is where I'm going. How do you create a signature? I think that puts it best. You have created the signature, a niche as Ibe Ananaba. If I see your work,
hold on. I think you have asked 1,000 questions now in your opinion. So,
okay, let me ask one. How do you discover your signature as an artist?
How do I discover my signature? If at all I have a signature, okay. My response to this would be, there's only one me. I have my own DNA. If you pinch yourself, I will not feel it. If I pinch myself, I will not feel it.
Sure.
So how I discover my signature is perhaps those things I've been doing over time, and I feel comfortable at the outcome. Do you understand? That is how I would say, I've discovered my signature. If at all I have a style, I have a signature. Sometimes, you see, like me, there are a couple of things I actually don't like set out to to focus on. I'm the type that once an idea comes, it comes. That is how to get it out there is the main thing, and enjoying the process. So if in the course of the creative process, I happen to be doing things a particular way, and it gives me joy, then that's my signature. Did I answer you correctly? Did I answer you the way you wanted?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
You said there's only one you. You have answered it where you mentioned DNA. Because I want the listeners, some of them who are students and up and coming, who have been striving to know where the direction, where their art should go.
The reason I say there's only one me, there sometimes you go to a show and you see red tags here and there, pam 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 pam, red tags. After that show, you now notice some people that you know, and you know how they work. Like you say, you know my work, even if I don't sign, you know my work. Mm-hmm. You don't see some people, and you're like, what's happening? I understand this idea of, okay, an artist has to experiment and all that.
Yeah.
Before, there are some things that can't be hidden. It will not be obvious that, look, this person is trying to move one way or the other to lean towards this, indirectly or directly, because so person has sold out his show or her show. Before you know it, the person will now, again, directly or indirectly, want to sell him or herself out, or as in forget everything that makes him or her to be a me too somewhere. And when the person must have created some dedicated time in living under someone else's shadow, you understand, created huge body of works, presents to perhaps the same collector that bought Mr. A's work. Mm-hmm. And the collector says, but I have this, I can't, but I already have works in this direction. Now the person now feels bad. Do you understand? Whereas you had the privilege to just be you, to craft your story, to visually pour out that things that makes you. Do you understand? For people to enjoy, to consume, to learn from, to admire, to relish. You deny people that privilege just because you are chasing, I don't know. You understand?
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah. So first question answer. What's the second question?
yeah, I'm sure you have answered, but that you said just your DNA. And I saw somebody wrote on the screen.
Somebody says originality speaks when you and when you endure in your directions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to I am Bernardino.
Yeah. I've seen quite of. So I'm sure you have. Now let me ask you this technical question. I'm asking so that those who are listening also can leverage on that experience. Ibe Ananaba, Maoga, what can you say is your selling point? There's something you have discovered in your practice, and you have consolidated on that. What can you say in one or two words that, yes, this is my selling point. I've discovered this in my practice, so that those that are in practice now, when they come across that in their career, they may consolidate on that, and that may help them.
Okay, my selling point, I don't know if it is visual. Okay, my selling point, I think, is what leads to whatever thing I create. I tend to, over the time, I have worked on how I've worked on how I perceive things. By perception, I mean, okay, you put, let's say an idea comes, or there's a subject and we are to represent that on a sheet of paper or canvas or elsewhere. Because I like my art to be interactive, because I cherish, I value my audience, I like my art to be interactive, I tend to, one way or the other, leave out or find a way to indulge my audience. Sometimes I do this by leaving out some areas for audience's mental participation. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll see me draw some things. I fade out an area.
Yeah.
Concentrate on an area.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for me, it is part of what makes art art. It's not just like, okay, let's for instance a portrait. I am not just, if you commission me to do a portrait, I'm not just going to directly replicate what I see. In as much as that is very vital, what interests me most is to capture the subject's essence. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
To see this and you know that this is this. We are talking about this from my own viewpoint. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So it could be focusing on an area, leaving some area, registering the essence, this and that, and I leave it. Do you understand?
To the audience to engage.
So that way, I'm stretching my imagination. At the same time, I'm stretching the viewer's imagination. So it's an interactive thing. Do you understand? Like for me, nothing gives me joy than. Have you ever, like in your shows, have you ever, like when your show is on, or when you accidentally walk into someone having a visual dialogue with your work, like spending time, like folding arm, bending neck, and wondering, okay, this, that's priceless. Do you understand? Or when I get that DM that, man, I like this thing that you posted, or I like how you did this. For me, these are little things that makes art, that makes me want to wake up and want to draw tomorrow and next tomorrow and tomorrow after next. Do you understand? So, being aware of that and having that lead to what I create, maybe is my selling point.
Fantastic. All right. Now let's talk about collaboration.
Again, okay. I love my signature.
Because it is making your phone to vibrate with some figures, some alert.
No, Bolaji, I'm not gonna lie you. Signature, like, again, I like analogies a lot. That point where you sign your signature is like where, cast your mind back when you were little, when that moment where we say they give you are very hungry and that rice is done and they serve you that rice. At that moment, you are done eating the rice and you're about to eat the meat, the fleshy meat without bone.
That olden
experience. Yeah. That's the same as that moment is the moment of signing signature for me.
Amazing. All right, our time is.
We don't get back to the question.
Yeah. Now I wanted to talk briefly on collaboration. There was a discourse on platform recently on, artists collaborating, and I remembered it was in 2016. You had an exhibition. I attended that show. Yeah. Then you did something with the ethnic mode. I think Tunde Owolabi. Yeah, there was a walk, he and she. You know what I remember like the back of my hand? It's part of the work that I used, that I cited in my PhD thesis. Now, I want to ask,
Okay.
yeah, what informed that collaboration? Because now we're talking about artists coming together, or not just artists coming together now. Now, this is a collaboration of fashion and painting, as it were. How did that happen? Did you go to them or they came to you?
Okay, fantastic question. Again, I will start from how the creative mind works. How I think, how I believe the creative mind works. Creative mind never sleeps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at a point in time, I worked with Tunde when we were both in advertising at Insight.
Okay.
You know, Tunde left, you know, started his thing. And the show you actually mentioned is titled Selense.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, actually.
All right.
So, yeah, that show, again, let me take it back to what, you know, what informs, what largely informs my art. My art is largely informed by issues that affect our contemporary living, you understand? So I'm like, I'm like a mirror, I reflect today, so to speak. Working in advertising and working amidst so many young people, different ages, young, old, you know, in advertising at Insight. People will come to work, but at the same time, they are making bold statements with their fashion.
Yeah.
What they wear. There's issue of identity. Even some people, again, we're status-driven people. Even if you don't have that 10-digit number in your account or 20-digit number, you want to appear like you got it going on.
Yeah,
like they will say.
Not the way.
Yeah. So, in as much as we'll go to work, attend to briefs, I was observing people and how they react to things, how they communicate, verbally, non-verbally. These are part of what led to that exhibition, coupled with where I grew up in Aba, which is a city that, look, you have the finest tailors in this continent. I mean, I grew up understudying those guys. You know, so Celeste was a show that basically my observation of how the flamboyant nature with which fashion is consumed, you know, in this part of the globe. You know, just to document my feeling. So back to the particular work, the ethnic mode that you referenced.
Yeah.
So Tunde had started his footwear thing. One of the days, I'm like, this, like I said again, you know, I'd mentioned I like my work being interactive. I was making a sketch, you know, my usual ritual on my sketch pad. And I got to the limbs and I got to the foot. I'm like, wait, what if, you know, again, you have to open your mind to what if. You have to respect to the what ifs when it comes up. So it popped up, ma'am, what if? I'm like, there has to be a way to represent this. You understand? Which again is what makes art art.
Yeah.
To poke people's thoughts, to challenge how you see this and that. Do you understand? I'm like, what if I don't draw the feet? What if I find some other thing to represent it? What experience, what kind of new experience will it create? That's how that thing came about. It's actually an idea that I've had for a long, I think that idea came up in 2012, but I couldn't do it when I had my identity check exhibition.
Yeah.
But I was waiting, again, it's not all the ideas that, some ideas that you have now would actually be for future. Do you understand? I was waiting for the right time to execute it until boom, Tunde's thing. Because I wanted, again, what led to that thing? I wanted to tell a for us by us kind of a story.
Oh.
It's a we thing. Ashoke is our own. Ethnic is our own. Do you understand? It's Nigerian, is made in Nigeria. I wanted to say that because the story, the Silencer story is about how we flaunt things, how we flaunt what we got. According to Igbo, show what you got. You know, showing off. So I wanted it to be sincere, you know, at all fronts. Again, to sincerely hit at the essence of what I was talking about. And thankfully, it became the spotlight of that show.
Yeah.
While I wasn't there, people would go there, pose with the thing, snap it, and send to me or post it on social media. For me, that was a success. Do you understand? Putting something out there that would make people, that will interact with people.
Yeah.
I mean, people walked in there and saw a bit of themselves in that thing. I mean, it resonated. They could dialogue with the work and they could interact with the stuff. Do you understand? So, what was the question again?
Now, we have just 2 minutes more. Who, from what you have said now, so it means that you want to see how this collaboration happened. So you spoke with Tunde? Yeah.
Yeah. So I spoke with Tunde and I'm like, guy, I have this, and I think this is a story I'm telling, and I think your product sits in well. Tunde, believing in what I create, gave me the permission, and you know, to do that, and we created a good story.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I remember.
You know, they say,
yeah.
Right hand, hang on. Right hand go wash left hand go wash right hand.
Yeah.
You understand? So what am I trying to say? I mean, if you combine your strengths, you know, you get fantastic results. Bottom line.
So artists should look beyond their own space. They should network
Sure.
and see how you can appropriate your art into.
Exactly. It's about the experience you create. That is. I mean, largely what art is all about. It's about the experience you create. Do you understand? Tomorrow I can say, okay, Bolaji, let's do this. Let's, like, okay, for instance, in 2 years ago, there's some sort of collaborative project I had with a professor in California, David Lobenberg. I like what he does. He likes what I do. So one day we were just chatting and we were like, okay, what can we create together? Initially, he wanted us to share image, like I take pictures of people around me, send to him, he takes and send to me. Then I reference them, create art pieces, he does same. I'm like, that sounds nice, but what if, again, the what if? I'm like, what if we use this as opportunity to understand ourselves, to understand our cultural backgrounds, to understand our personalities, and boom, that was it. You know, he went over the roof with the idea and like, fantastic. This is a man in his, I think David will be in his 60s, but he's so young that he will make some funny faces, take pictures. And so that idea gave birth to some, what I would call a cross-cultural, cross-Atlantic discussion on identity that was published, you know, I think it got us 2 publications in some watercolor magazine in the US and one other publication. So what I'm trying to say, combine your strengths and create new. Once you combine strengths, there's some hybrid experience that would, you know, that is priceless, that people will benefit from.
All right. Thank you very much, Ibe. We have just 5 seconds to go. Thank you for joining us. God bless you.
Well,